Good day, English literature students. Today we are going to do a literary term named short story. Though it is a very common term and we have listened to this word since our childhood thousands of times. But as the students of literature, we should understand that it is a very technical literary term. Short story is a prose narrative which is meant to be read in a single sitting. Its plot comprises of one single incident in the life of the protagonist. Protagonist means the main character of the poet of the short story. That incident is characteristic of the main character. It brings about the basic characteristics of the protagonist. The plot is small, comprising of one single incident of his life. The characters are few, and there are certain important elements of a short story which I will discuss with you. So, a short story comprises of basically the following elements. First of all, exposition. Now, what do you mean by exposition? Exposition is the beginning or the start of a short story, and we are introduced to the characters, and the setting is also introduced. Characters means the major persons of the story, they are introduced, and the setting means the time, the place where the story is set. So the first point is exposition. Then the rising action. Rising action means that point of the short story just after the exposition where the major characters, they face a series of conflicts. A certain change come into their life. There are some incidents which are unusual in his life. So this is the rising action. It means that something happens which is unusual in their life. Then the climax. Climax is the most exciting part of the short story when we learn the outcome. Outcome means the final result of all the uprising events. Then the falling action. Falling action means the events leading to the end of the story. So there are certain actions which lead to the end of the story. And resolution. Resolution means when all the things are resolved. So this is the end of the story. So this is the plot of the short story. I repeat, the plot of the short story comprises of 5 elements: exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Then there are characters in a short story. So remember that there are a very few characters in a short story. A short story does not contain a lot of characters like a novel. Now, at this point, let me tell you that if we compare a short story and a novel, there are same elements but at a smaller level. Both contain a plot, but the plot of a novel is very large and it contains subplots also. Excuse me. And that plot contains a lot of incidents. Short story also contains a plot, also has a plot, but its plot is based on one single incident. And that incident is not picked from anywhere from the life of the protagonist. No, it is that characteristic It is that characteristic event in his life which is picked from that part of his life which will bring about his real character. So, the characters of a short story, they are called protagonists. Now, what do you mean by protagonist? Protagonist is a major character. So, as I told you that there are a very few characters, maybe 2 to 3 or 4. There is no fixed number of characters, but the characters are very few in comparison with the novel. So, there are protagonist and there are antagonist. Protagonist means the major character of the short story, and antagonist major and the positive characters. One who protagonist is a person, is a hero of the short story, one who undergoes a change or learns something during the course of the story, and one who takes the leading part, with whom our sympathies are attached. Antagonist is the one who contends with the protagonist. He is against the protagonist. So there may be antagonist in a short story or there may not be. Antagonist means the villain. Now, as I told you that there are comparisons and contrasts between novel and short story. Novel has a large plot with subplots and many incidents, including many incidents, and a short story includes one single incident. Then a novel has a lot of characters, uncountable characters. But a short story contains very few characters. Now, the climax of the novel is reached after we read 150 to 200 pages at least. But the climax of a short story is reached in a single sitting. As the name suggests, the story is short. Then, the short story is such a piece of writing which contains all the elements of a novel in a smaller scale. So, if a novel is a cake, a short story is a piece of cake. You cannot eat a whole cake at one single meal. In the same way, you can't read a novel at a single sitting. You read it piece by piece as we eat a cake. And a piece of cake also contains the same taste as the whole cake contains. In the same way, the short story also contains all the characteristics of a novel, but in a smaller scale. So, I hope you understood the comparisons between novel and short story. Now, let us discuss the elements. Now, what are characters? Characters are generally people. It may be a lady, it may be a male character, it may be a child. Again, animals can also form the major characters of a short story. Then strange creatures. Strange creatures means something supernatural, or objects that think and talk. So they are the characters of short story. And if we talk about the exposition, again, now let us discuss a short story taking an example in our mind. All the three classes, students, they have studied short stories and they are studying. So, keep in mind a short story and apply all those points to your short story. Now, I will take the gift of Magi as an example. So, if we talk about the first point, exposition. Now, exposition, as I told you, that it is the beginning of the story where characters and setting are introduced. So, the beginning of the story, exposition in the gift of the Magi, is that we are introduced to Jim and Della, we come to know that they are husband and wife. They are young. Their means of income, their sources of income are meager. They are not very much, but they are a happy couple. We come to know. And we also come to know that this couple own two treasures in their house. And what are those two treasures? Jim's wristwatch without a band and Della's beautiful long hair. So, and they are living in a flat, rented flat. And by the description of the flat, we come to know that they are not rich and they are a poor couple. But still they are happy. They love each other. This is the exposition. In exposition, what did we come to know? We come to know about the characters, their name, their age, their relationship with each other, and their basic natures. And we also came to know that they are not financially very well off, and they but they love each other, and they are a young couple. Now, the rising action. The second point of the short story is rising action. And what do we come to know in rising action? That Christmas is about to come. And Della wants to gift her husband a beautiful gift for Christmas, on the eve of Christmas. But she is unhappy. She is sad because she does not have much money to buy a beautiful gift for her husband. So she is crying. She is sad. And she sympathizes with Jim also, because poor man, he works from morning to night, but he can't earn very much. And Della has saved bit by bit a little amount of money in order to gift Jim with a beautiful present, Christmas present. But she is unhappy because she is unable to do so. Then again, something came into her mind. She went and she bought a wristband for the wristwatch of her husband, but because she did not have enough money, she sold her beautiful hair. And when her husband came on the Christmas Eve, she was afraid of facing him, because now she was looking like a little schoolboy with small hair, with bob cut hair, and she thought that her husband would not love her with this new look. But still, he came, and there was a very strange look in his eyes, and Della could not understand this strange look, because it was neither anger nor anything else. It was something strange which she could not understand. And she tried to make him happy by giving him the gift, and Jim kept that gift away because he had sold his wristwatch in order to buy ivory combs for his wife. So now comes the climax. Now what is the climax? That both the husband and the wife, they have sold their treasures, and the gift they bought for each other now have become useless, because the ivory comb are of no use for Della because she has no long hair, and the wristband which Della bought for her husband is useless for her husband, because now there is no wristwatch left. So both gifted each other their treasured elements. So this is love. This is true love. Now, what is the falling action? The falling action is that it leads towards the end. Jim explained Della that that true love is not based on a particular haircut or a special look. but true love is based on the feeling of sacrifice. It is just based on the feeling of true love towards each other. So he said that these gifts are too precious for us. Now, for at present, we should keep them away. And both the husband and wife, they are sad as well as happy. Now the resolution comes, now comes the part of resolution. Now what is the resolution? That both of them console each other that someday she will grow her hair back and someday they will be able to get the wrist watch again. And more important resolution is the concluding paragraph of the author. He says that giving and receiving gift is an art, and whatever we give and we take, feelings should be involved in it. And here he says that the three kings bought valuable gifts for Magi, but they were not as valuable as Della gave to her husband or as Jim gave to his wife. So this is the final part. This is the final part, resolution of the story. So I hope you understood the major elements of a short story. Keeping in view a short story, The Gift of Magi. Now this was a story from 1 year, and the other 2 years can take examples from their own courses. Thank you.